Garden Report is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Hey, Buddy Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Celtics cruised by the Pistons for the most part, 130-120. Detroit went on a late rally, hit a bunch of threes in the fourth quarter to narrow what was a 19-point lead for the Celtics early. A Jason Tatum rest night, a second straight Drew Holiday absence, allowed Sam Hauser to get back on his feet in the starting lineup, back from his personal lead for a game, and great spot start from Al Horford as well in this one, and Jaylen Brown with Tatum out led the way. 16 first quarter points, 8 free throws in the opening frame, super aggressive early and late. One of the highlights of the season, his dunk over Isaiah Stewart, and an excellent playmaking game from him as well, connecting with his notable friend Kristaps Porzingis, who has changed his team in many ways. Different look in this game for them, playing through Porzingis offensively. Defensively, I think we're starting to see that with the amount of double big they're playing, they can be a little susceptible to giving up threes as they were late, but the rim protection has been so much better. So a forcefulness from this team that we haven't seen a ton of it, and big reasons why: Brown, Porzingis, and then you had enough threes from Hauser to hit 130, which is what you need in this one.
Yeah, and I'll just add Peyton Pritchard too. 19 points, 2 big threes down the stretch. So you kind of got everything you needed, and to see Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum both get a rest night and it not impact the standings is great. And yeah, I think this was just, I feel like a lot of these wins have felt pretty similar, where they have a bigger lead, maybe that the team makes a rally, but they're always holding these teams off. And I think the thing that stood out, what you said about the defense, that we were critical early on about the rim protection. I think maybe it's just easier to watch teams hit threes against the Celtics than to see them, have layups. And I don't know if, and looking at the numbers, like which one you actually want to give up, but certainly we're seeing that shift a little bit more towards where they were susceptible last year, which is kind of variant shooting. Whereas right now they're really protecting the rim at a good level. So people that were concerned about that, I think at least that can be kind of put in the back burner.
So both these teams will see each other again next week. Celtics miss the cup. The Pistons had a chance to win and get in, and they lose yesterday to Milwaukee. So both these teams coming off being eliminated from the cup on the last day. Celtics and Pistons both reacted to that before the game today. You guys disappointed to not make the tournament?
I mean, yeah, we're disappointed. Obviously, we wish we could have done more to not have to put our faith into other teams to give us some help to make it, but it was a goal we set out before the season that we wanted to win it, but not having the chance to now kind of sucks, but kind of have to take it on the chin and then just keep on rolling.
What's that like last night? Are you super locked into it? Are you crunching the numbers and all that?
Honestly, I had some other stuff going on, so I really wasn't watching. Yeah.
So I recapped all the action yesterday. It was a fun day for me, and I enjoyed it, and I was hoping that we'd get a Celtics-Knicks matchup next week, and now, of course, we're going to get Celtics-Pistons back here on Thursday next week, and then a third trip to Washington, which I like, but that Wizards team is no good, and I'm sure that'll be another rest night for the Celtics here. So the debate, do they need it? Would it be good to play those quality teams there, or do you enjoy the rest? Do you enjoy the easier matchups here? And that's where the Celtics seem to be leaning. Don't go to Vegas. Get those 3 days off there. They push for it. They try to get in. But they didn't seem super bummed that they missed it. And I think the biggest problem for a team like that is there isn't a huge incentive to make that trip, play that extra game if you're in the championship. And they're certainly fine with getting a little rest here after 5 days and 7 weeks.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at this big picture, this schedule is so much more favorable for a team that played through June. Multiple guys played through the summer in the Olympics.
And that's a big problem that you
yeah,
can
I mean,
that.
They literally have 2 games and they're against opponents that they should beat. That being said, sometimes these the easy win games are the ones that maybe they're looking at this as 2 automatic wins, and we'll have a conversation about that in a week about how that didn't pan out as planned. We'll see. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on how the NBA Cup can be improved. I know some people love it, some people hate it. Some people, you talk about it, they're like, why are you even talking about this? Because nobody cares.
All right, give me 2 ideas.
Okay, first of all, the point differential to me is, I know you like it, and I know you like crunching numbers and watching the games and all that, but ultimately it's losing the average fan, because I know I'm sitting here and I'm like trying to memorize. I'm looking up Sean Grandy's tweets so I can find like what the scenarios are. I think it has to be something that's a little bit more intuitive. Whether you have a single elimination tournament for a day or two where every single game it's like you lose a game, you're out. There has to be a way to break the tie where even if you want to keep the pool play thing, I think right now having it come down to like the Bucks have to win by 6 or it's too much for people. And I know some people are going to say it's not that simple. It's pretty simple. You're being stupid, and I get that. But I from talking to my friends, talking to people in my life that are a bit, relatively big fans of the NBA, I think it is losing people.
Now, how do you make the teams care about it? That's the big one.
Well, maybe if it felt a little bit more legitimate. Like right now it feels a little bit gimmicky, and the courts are part of that, but there's no history behind it. So some of that's going to change if, this has been going on for decades and Michael Jordan has 9 cup victories. Like maybe we would just inherently be viewing this as something more meaningful. Obviously we can't control that. But I think ultimately teams care about winning. They care about their playoff positioning. And if you want the really good teams to care about it, you're going to have to incentivize that, because everybody wants to have the best seed possible. That's literally the motivation of going into every single game, is thinking about the standings. We've heard it before when teams didn't finish with the standings that they wanted. They look back and regret certain losses. The Celtics 2 years ago weren't a 60-win team, and they expressed regret that they weren't ultimately. So I think why not just say, if you win the NBA Cup, you move up 2 slots in your standings, or you move up 10 percentage points, or whatever it is, something substantial, that you're sitting here being like, oh shoot, like we're in a battle with the Cavs right now. The Cavs are winning the cup, and they lock down the #1 seed. I'm not saying you should get the #1 seed, because obviously you have to be within a certain scope, but why not just give you an inflation for your record? Because right now it's not, these games count as one game, and then the championship game not counting for anything, in my opinion, is the dumbest thing, because that game has no impact on anything besides for buying into the cup as a premise, which again, I don't think the guys have fully bought into, and maybe other teams have. I think if we were watching a rebuilding team right now, we'd be all in for the cup.
I think the Pistons wanted it.
Yeah, the Pistons wanted it. If you're a Hawks fan, I'm sure this is a really exciting thing that's happening. But if you just won the championship and you're the most storied franchise in sports, like, you're just not going to buy into it the same way. And that's what I've seen from most Celtics fans, at least. I know there are some that have been into it, but I think it has to directly impact your standings to the point where not even making like the pool play round or whatever this first thing is called has just a detrimental impact on your standings. Like, there needs to be some sort of consequence if you're not taking this seriously or whatnot. I don't know. I just think that it has to just directly correlate with winning, because making the cash prize more and more expensive, I don't think that's the direction that this needs to go.
No, fans don't care about that. So you're balancing fan interest with team interest there. I do like the standings aspect. I think the best idea I've heard is having a championship in this be a tiebreaker in the standings, and that first tiebreaker. So if you're tied in the standings at the end of the year, and there often are ties, your cup championship, or maybe even your standing in the finish of it, could be the edge there, and I think that makes a lot of sense. The first thought I had when they started it was that you should get a playoff spot automatically, even if it's the 10 seed. Like, it doesn't impact your seeding, but you're in that group at the end of the year, so it doesn't totally devalue the regular season, but you're there at the end if you win the cup. I think that's fair.
That doesn't fix the problem that the top teams
right,
are not
I was going to say, most of the teams that are in it right now,
the Celtics would not be moved by that,
Yeah, most of the teams that are in it right now, maybe save for Atlanta, look like playoff locks right now. So I think the tiebreaker scenario, and even, I love that margin of victory thing. I want that alive throughout the year somehow. So maybe you adapt that from the tournament and make every game throughout the year a margin of victory game. So every game's going down to the end, and then at the end of the year you have a bunch of games, whether it's for tiebreakers or for even getting into the playoffs, where the margin's going to matter there. So that's beyond this, but I do think like the best way of wrapping all this together is, say, if you win the cup, you have the ultimate tiebreaker here. And does that fix everything?
I think it should go beyond just a tiebreaker. Like, if your record is 50-32 at the end of the season, and another team's record is 48-34. Like, what if it was a 3-game boost? If you won the cup, it's a 3-game boost, so all of a sudden you're jumping somebody in the standings.
Well, think about the championship game doesn't count right now, so you couldn't even have that be one extra win in your standing.
That's a no-brainer. I feel like just making that
even, if you want to go that far. Now, I think there's limits to how crazy they're going to get with this, but I do think there's tons of room to make it mean more. So let us know your ideas below. We'll continue to talk about this going into next year, and we'll see where the NBA is thinking with this. I know there's a report this year too that they had some thoughts of maybe including international teams. I think that would be interesting from a pride standpoint. So we'll see where they take this. This certainly needs to be tweaks to make everybody involved care more, because the teams don't seem to care a ton. The fans certainly have their skepticism, and this ended up being a bit of a flop for the Celtics, missing it this year and not being a part of it. So let us know. Again, check out our sponsors, Prize Picks. Use the code CLNS over there to get a $50 bonus when you play a $5 lineup. Check out Game Time. 2 more games here in Boston before the Cup layoff early next week, so check them out. Milwaukee, Memphis. Use the code CLNS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply over there, and support the rest of our sponsors here as well. always great sponsors, whether it's Built or HelloFresh, all of them. So again, check them out right now and help support our coverage of the Celtics here as the year continues. We'll be back here on Friday, Celtics Bucks. For Noah Dalzell, I'm Bobby Manning. The Celtics take care of the Pistons, 130-120 here on Wednesday night at TD Garden. We'll talk to you soon here on the Garden Report.